What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. So I got another roguelite for you today, but boy, if you want to see a roguelite that you've never seen before, this is definitely it. Shout out to my buddy Technomancer for turning me on to this game. I probably would have missed it otherwise, which is a real shame. This is Red Tether, and it's made entirely by one person, save the music, and it's an interesting roguelite in that it takes place in space, but you don't fight in it the way you would traditionally in any other game. So you can use a controller with this. I highly recommend using a keyboard and mouse. I do think it's a much better way to play the game. And you do unlock a little bit of things after each run, but it's much more roguelike-y in general, I would say. There are some permanent upgrades here you can unlock for achieving certain conditions. I have not achieved any of them yet. This game is not easy, but it's very, very satisfying, and it's one where I really feel that you get a little bit better at it each time. So I'm going to jump right into a run here and show you what it involves. So the reason it's called Red Tether is quite simple. You don't have guns in this. You have a space tether, which is kind of like a tractor beam, I guess you'd say. And your goal is to destroy your targets by pulling them and debris and other such things into each other so that they explode. Yeah, exactly. So this is how you start things off. This is what summons the fleet in. You got to destroy this little thing real quick. So what you do is you click on what you want to start your tether with, what you want to attach it to, and a certain amount of inertia will kick in, very much dependent on the size and mass of the objects. So, all right, here comes the fleet. It starts off relatively easy, but it gets hard real quick. So you want to pull things in here like this. Now, what's interesting is you're going to see there's these little separate modules on the side. Some of these can just be cargo components. Some of them can be ammo caches. Some of them can be guns that will actually shoot at you. And the cool thing is that you can latch onto these and pull them off as well. So what you can do is latch yourself to something. And if you press the right mouse button, you tension up your tether and you pull it towards you. Now, if you don't put any momentum on yourself, you'll do this, and you will end up hurting yourself. But you can actually fly around things to get almost like a rapid slingshot effect to maneuver quickly. Or if you're careful with it, you can pull something in the direction you want. Heavier objects will obviously take longer, and if you overdo the strength of your tether, it will snap, and you'll have to redo it. So you have to actually sort of feather the throttle and make sure that you're not overdoing it in order to do that. And you can pull off guns of ships that are shooting at you. You can pull off all sorts of things in this. And if you ever screw up and you need to break a tether, you just tap the left shift button and the tether will let go. It also gives you a very interesting visual indicator as to how your tethers are working. So I'm going to show you here what I can do with this guy's gun. So you see the gun is taking damage. Now the ship is not, but the gun is. And then when you do this enough, there, it's been ripped off. I actually killed the ship there, but if you rip off the gun, A, it can't shoot at you anymore, and B, you can actually use that gun and throw it at something else. You can't fire it, but you can throw it at something else. And the key to this game is it's all about momentum and utilizing momentum in physics to your advantage. So you can see there as well, you'll get a little bit of a visual indicator. So see how the tether's sort of going crinkled like that? So what it's actually doing there is because I attached that asteroid to a gun, it started to pull the gun off. And what that's showing is that's what the tether's doing. It will also show that the tether is not having any direct impact on the inertia of the object. So if you have a solid tether, like this, for example, that's indicating that something is being actively moved with it. If you're ripping something or you've attached two objects that are just too heavy for each other, then you'll get an indication of that, and you can reformulate your strategy accordingly. As you can see here, I'm taking some hits. You do have regenerating health. When your regenerating health runs out, you'll lose one of these sort of weird heart icons you have here in the upper left. When all of those are gone and you run out, that's it, it's game over. There are power-ups you can find in your runs that can increase the number of those and also heal them up, but they're few and far between. Every few waves, a ship will show up that has several different power-ups on it, and the way you retrieve that is you rip the desired power-up off. Here's one right here. And then the ship will self-destruct, taking out the rest of them. So you got several options here. So now we've got these gunships, and you also see we've got this now. Now, these are sort of missile carriers. Now, what's interesting about these is that when they blow up, you can sometimes they'll drop errant missiles, which you can then again tether to something else, and they still explode real nice. So it's a really fascinating gameplay loop that this has, especially because while you are definitely taking part in combat, you're not shooting anything. And I think that's really cool and unique. And there's another mechanic. Sometimes the ships will move around. They'll relocate. And the battles in this will get much hairier later. There'll be a lot of different ships with a lot of different weapons. Some of them have like miniguns that are very hard to avoid. And as you can see here, your ship is not slow, but it's not crazy fast either. So you got to make sure that you dodge things as best you can, and it can get really tricky later. The furthest I've ever gotten in this game so far is... Ooh, harpoon weapons, strip armor and do weapon damage. And then heals 1 heart, grants improvised armor when at max. So that basically heals one of your hearts up, and if your health is at max, your armor, you're a little tougher. So there we go. So I'm going to take this one, and then you just fly into it, and there we go. We've got it. And you can do direct collision damage as well. So if you really want, you can run through a guy like that, wait for yourself to heal up, and you will do some damage to him. So you can, you know, go all prepare for ramming speed if you want. And you can totally do that, which I think is really cool. So here's one of those drop missiles. So you grab this, you do that. A, it moves really fast because it's small. And B, it pops. Yeah. And I've never gotten further than the first boss in this game. It gets very, very hard. There are 50 waves in total, and there's a boss every 10. So it's not short, needless to say. But the thing that I have loved about this game so much is it is very tough but fair. No time when I failed at this have I gotten mad or been like, oh, the game screwed me over, it didn't do what I wanted, da-da-da-da-da. It's always felt very fair. And this is one of those games, and this is where I think roguelikes and roguelites shine the best, is when you have a game like this where in failure, you always feel like you're learning something. And that as you progress, you always feel that you're getting just a little bit better with each run. And that's definitely been the case. When I first fired this game up, it has a tutorial, but it really just explains the controls. It's pretty basic. And when I first did a run of this, I was clumsy, I didn't really understand what I was doing, and I was getting really frustrated, and I was just like, I don't know about this, man. Like, it's a cool idea, but these controls seem awful. And then the next run, I did substantially better, and then the one after that, I did better and better and better, and while I still have a lot to learn, I mean, I can guarantee you there are higher level players of this game who are, if any of them are watching, are probably just smacking their foreheads right now going, oh my god, this guy sucks. But this is what I find so fascinating about this game, is that every single run, I felt I've got that little bit better. And that if I just persisted at it, I could absolutely overcome it. The problem with a lot of roguelikes and roguelites is that they often rely on a lot of RNG, which is to say random elements. And a lot of these games, you can have a fantastic run or a terrible run, not really through any fault of your own, but because the game just decided to kind of be a jerk on a particular run, or, you know, or to be charitable. This does have RNG in it. It definitely does, but I've never found it that extreme or that unfair. So this ship is a neat one there. If you have one of these fuel carrier things, you can, if they drop fire, okay, I kind of screwed myself on that one, but so I lost one of my hearts there. If they drop fire, you can ignite them with their engine, and it will actually burn anything within its radius. Now, the fuel carrier itself is immune to that, but it gives you an idea here. And then this is one of the carriers with the miniguns, which are brutal, but the cool thing with them is that they don't discriminate, and a lot of the time they can shoot through their own targets. So sometimes the enemy will actually shoot themselves or each other while trying to shoot you, which is another way I call this game tough but fair. I appreciate that. And yeah, I honestly think that's this game's biggest strength, is it has RNG in it, but it's never felt petty or mean, or that that my run, the only reason my run failed or didn't do better than it did, I actually normally am better at avoiding these than this. It's just because I'm chatting. It's never felt that the reason a run failed was because the game just didn't deal me a good hand. I've never felt that way. And that's a very hard balance to strike, and a lot of devs in this genre don't strike it well. I think this guy did. I think they did a really, really good job at balancing the challenge with fairness and with making a game that's hard and demands a lot of you and demands that you learn and get good, as this genre should, but which doesn't rely, it has its random elements, but they add to the game rather than also arbitrarily affecting the difficulty curve in ways that can be unreasonable, if that makes any sense. Again, a very hard balance to strike, but I think they did a really good job, to be honest. And there you go. So what I'll show you here is if you bring up the menu, now my face is in the way, so I'll turn this off. You can look down here and it shows the stats of your ship, which again do improve a little bit between runs depending, and has some extra bits here. So you do improve, but it's very, very slight, I find. And the true power-ups are things like these, which allow you to change to different kinds of ships with different capabilities. Like, these are not easy to obtain, so these are going to require you to really put in some effort. Like, this is reach wave 15, this one is reach wave 45, so almost finished the game. Acquire 100 upgrades during runs to unlock this. 10 consecutive waves without taking full heart damage, yeah, good luck with that. And get 6 filled heart containers during a run. I almost did this one, I got to 5 at one point. And yeah, you can see what's going on here. There is a story to this game a little bit. It looks like this. You see when you die that it mentions something about that, like your brain was recovered, so it looks like you're kind of flying a drone ship almost remotely. I don't really know how much the story fleshes out or not. Honestly, even if this game never had a story, I wouldn't care. Because the core gameplay itself is just so much fun. And I'm going to be honest with you, I've been trying to really explain why I like this thing, because I'm not playing it well. I'm sure I'm not. And I don't want to put anybody off by that. I have been having an absolute blast with this game, and one of the interesting things that I didn't show you there is that on the main menu screen, the guy actually shows some stats about the game, including how many hours he spent on development, which is frankly a lot, but honest to God, kind of less than I thought it would be. And also how many copies he sold and what that works out to in terms of his average wage. And it's kind of sad, because this game to this point since it came out has not sold a lot. It's kind of flown under the radar. I'll be honest with you, were it not for Technomancer, I would have missed this myself, because there's just so much stuff that comes out on Steam, you can't possibly keep a hold of all of it. And I really wanted to showcase this because I think it's really cool, and I really want this to do better. This game I think would be really cool on consoles as well, though playing this with a controller I definitely don't find as intuitive as playing with a keyboard and mouse. It could definitely be tuned for that, but I don't really think that's the ideal way to play it right now. But I love roguelikes and roguelites. I play tons of them, and I have no problem with the ones that are a little bit more formulaic as well, but I think this one is doing something very, very different and very cool. And I just think it's balanced incredibly well, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of challenge, and it will probably frustrate some people, but there's really nothing like it. And on top of that, I just love the look and sound of this thing. I think that the visuals in this are really striking. They're simple. It almost looks a little bit like what would have happened if like an Asteroids game was made in like the late 80s, early 90s, like the 16-bit era. And I love that it strikes a balance between sort of modern and retro aesthetics. And the music in this game is just phenomenal. I actually wouldn't mind picking up the soundtrack for this at some point. I think it's not an original soundtrack. I think he just used a lot of tracks from a particular artist. So I may have to look that up, but yeah, the soundtrack for this is great. I think the music does a great job at conveying the tension of what you're trying to do, but also just sounds cool in general. I overall think this is a really slick package. It does have cloud saves, which is nice if you're trying to... Ooh, pull force. I like that one. If you're trying to play this on multiple machines, it does have cloud saves. No achievements, which is a little weird. I don't particularly care. I just find that odd because that's a fairly common thing. This game also probably is full potato compatible. So I have a gaming laptop, but I can run it on its integrated graphics in battery mode. I did that with this game when I was doing some of my playing of it, and I'd forgotten that I'd put my laptop in integrated graphics mode. Still ran like butter. So it's not a technically demanding title, so you could easily run this on lower end hardware and still have a great time with it. It is capped at 60 frames a second. If this ran at a higher frame rate, that might be nice, but I think the movement and stuff in this is slow enough that you know, an ultra high frame rate would probably not really matter that much. So, but yeah, it's very cool. And as a fan of both space games and roguelikes, I highly recommend it, and I do think more people should give this a try. If you like roguelikes but you want something different and cool, this is absolutely that. This is a game I really hope ends up doing better in the long run. So yeah, that is Red Tether, and it is out now. Highly recommended. Definitely like it. You know, I would normally say this isn't going to convert any roguelike fans, but or rather people who are not roguelike fans. But you know what? You never know in this case. This is different enough and just has a really satisfying enough gameplay loop that I could see this maybe grabbing in somebody who normally is kind of turned off by the genre. So I'd be curious to know about that. So yeah, give this a try. I like it. So thank you for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do the normal YouTube things, like, subscribe, click the bell, all that jazz. And leave a comment down below. Have you tried this? What do you think of it? You know, are you someone who's normally not into roguelikes who might think this is interesting? And as always, let me know other, you know, potentially hidden roguelike gems that I've missed, because I know there's a lot of them out there. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. We cover a lot of stuff there that I don't play over here on YouTube. We have a wonderful community over there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a great one. Take it easy, everybody.